Okay, we're going to tie a bead head nymph here. This particular one is one that I call a honey bunny. The particular pattern is designed, I prefer it on a 18, a 14, or a 16 size hook. This is a 14 hook and a 3/32 bead. Okay, I'm going to use this material here, which is what we call antron yarn. Antron yarn comes on either cardboard tabs like this, or it comes on spools like floss does. Okay, to start off with, of course you have to put the bead on the hook, which can be a little tricky. I'm not going to go over that right now because I'm considering that you already know how to do that. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to wind in what I call an underlayment underneath here. And what this does, it coats the hook in thread and gives the material that you put on top something to bind to, especially if you mix a little head cement in with it. Okay, I'm going to take the antron yarn and I'm going to cut a piece of it. Now this antron, as you can see, it's very, very sparkly. If we put something with kind of a black background behind it, you can really see it has a lot of sparkle to it. Okay, since these tips are a little straighter, I'm going to turn it the other direction. And I want a piece that's about the length of the hook when I'm finished. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie it in here, make a soft wrap here, and bind it down, working back toward the tail this way. Then come on up here, catch some of these fibers, wind them down, come on back, kind of pull it so that you get it on top. And if there's a lot of little errant fibers here, you go ahead and just trim those off. Now the tail section here, I want it to be about the length of the shank of the hook itself. I like to make these with copper wire and a gold bead head. I've experimented for several years now with different materials and found that actually the combination of the gold bead head and the copper wire seems to catch more fish than either copper and copper or gold and gold. And I don't have a good explanation for that, except that I've proven it in the field on this particular fly, on these particular waters that we fish here in this area. Okay, so now we have a copper wire. What I've done is tied it in on top, use a very short piece. Okay, you want to use a piece that's not too long. If you have a long piece, it's flopping around, and this very fine wire is very dangerous around your eyes, so it's a good idea to use a little small piece, and just not much more than what you need, enough that it's easy to handle, but not so much that it's kind of wild. Okay, I like to use some sort of a head cement up underneath the body in order to give it a bit of a cement along the thread underlayment. This will help keep your wire in there, and it'll also help the materials that you put on top to bind and stay connected. This is why a lot of people's flies come apart. They don't really do that. Now what I do here is I take a piece, this is just chenille, this is a variegated chenille, this is black and chartreuse. I use black and chartreuse sometimes, I use this copper flash sometimes. You can see from this bag of cutoffs that you can use a lot of different patterns. This one right here that's sort of a brown and kind of a honey colored, that's a very good one. That's what the bait, this particular fly, was originally named for to begin with, because it was honey colored and it was kind of somewhat tied on the principle of a hare's ear, therefore the honey bunny. Now you can use a short piece of this or a little longer, whatever works easiest for you. You can use your hackle pliers and get them in here and bite it like this if you want, or you can do it by hand. I do it either way. Wind this in on that last wrap right there. We're going to take our thread and wind the thread around it this way once and come over, and what that does is it catches it back under here, clip it off very close, and we're going to take our copper wire and we're going to wind it the opposite direction. This chenille was wound in a clockwise fashion. We're going to wind the wire in a counter wrap. This is the same way that it's done in the tying of zonkers and woolly boogers and that type of fly. Okay, so as I pull the wire in here, I'm going to go in a diagonal and I'm going to wiggle it back and forth so it goes in between the fibers so as not to mat the fibers. And I'd like to get about 3 or 4 spiral wraps in here. And then come right down in behind, the bead and give it a little pull. Come in here and catch it there with about 2, 3, maybe 4 wraps. Take the tips of the scissors, and when you're cutting wire, I usually cut it with the base of the scissors here, and then take that and just tuck the end of that under, which makes it first of all not a little burr that sticks out, and it makes it where you can wrap over it easily. When you come back, put about 4 or 5 wraps over the top of it there. Come back here, do your whip finish. There we have what I call a chartreuse honey bunny.